Hey guys, welcome back to this week's poll here on Comic Relief Cast. I'm your host Jake.
And I'm Josh. Hey Jake, got a quick question for you.
I got a lot of energy, man.
You got a lot of energy? Yeah, okay. What'd you think about the Super Bowl?
Dude, bored.
Yeah,
Alright, and thanks for asking, Josh. And as you guys can tell, you've clicked on the DC episode for this week. And what we're going over this week is Young Justice issue 2, Vindication issue 1, Batman issue 64, The Girl in the Bay issue 1, Green Lantern number 4, Justice League number 17, Green Arrow number 49, Female Furies number 1, and Man and Superman number 1. As you guys can tell, there was a lot to go over this week. We have a lot of offerings, not from just DC, but also from Marvel and some indie titles. But this week is just, or this episode is just DC, so let's get right into it. Young Justice issue 2 by Brian Michael Bendis and Patrick Gleason. What'd you think, Josh?
It pretty much just kind of follows the same as the first issue, which is kind of a little disappointing because the first issue just didn't really have a whole lot to grab you, and by the second issue you're hoping that you get something to grab, and this just does not do it.
Yeah, this one to me is just lollygagged. Like I go, okay, you're introducing us a little bit to the characters. There's much more of a focus on Wonder Girl Cassie. Not much on Ginny Hex, not much new on Teen Lancer, nothing with Robin. I mean, you get a little bit more for the sense of Amethyst, whatever her name is, but really not a whole lot added, not a whole lot of progression of the story, which kind of makes me go, okay, I'm waiting, Bendis. I want you to do better, but you're not. But this one did not grab me. It is not a must pick up for me. But why don't you go ahead and unveil our rating for this week?
Oh, hey, you know what? I'm ready.
All right, do it.
I'm going to give this book, because of the pencils being as good as they are.
Gleason did do well.
Yeah, Gleason did well. I'm going to give this book a 2.1, and I feel like it's a generous 2.1.
Okay, so you didn't like it as much as I did. I mean, I didn't like it much more, but I'm going to go...
Furies.
Oh.
Our Furies in because of Female Furies.
Exactly.
Is our grading scale.
All right, I'm giving it 2.4 Furies. I thought...
Oh, you're just a slightly... I thought the way you made it sound like it was so much more.
No, not a lot more, but a little bit more.
All
right,
okay.
Moving on to Vindication number 1 from MD Marie and Carlos Mico, Dema Jr., and Thiago Goncalves. I'm having a hard time with these ones. But basically what this is a man is out. He just got out of parole for murder. They found out the DNA was inconclusive, and what it is about is the police officer trying to investigate a new murder, trying to connect it to the guy that just got off. And what I thought this book was going to be about was going to be a story about the guy who got off of murder and how he readjusts to life. That's how they kind of framed it up at the beginning. But actually what you find out is that this book is much more about the police officer and what he's going through. And what I take away from this book is it's definitely something that's trying to be relevant to today, but also that the artist, I think, is very new at comic books. I think the artist is just cutting their teeth. I'm not saying that the pencils are bad. The pencils are actually quite good, but you can just tell that there's something very fresh about this person, as in they don't know exactly what they're doing yet. There's not a lot of fluidity, not a lot of motion, or it doesn't feel very dynamic to it. It feels like an artist still learning.
Yeah, it definitely, because of that, it kind of gives it that more of like an indie comic kind of feel.
And it is. I mean, it is from Image Top Cow.
Yeah. But for the most part, I kind of, I enjoyed it, but the only problem I have with this book is that it felt very fast-paced.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I felt like it felt very like, it's like we're going here, real fast. I felt like, I don't think that it needed to really sit down and kind of explain anything, but it did feel a little like it was kind of going like, I want to set everything up, and you felt that they were wanting to set everything up for you so you know what all is going on.
Okay, I felt the opposite. I didn't feel like they were too fast. I think they used ample time. My thing is that there's not a lot of character diversity in here, as in the voices aren't very specific to who's talking, and I think that the dialogue feels a little stilted. It feels like somebody trying to write for a comic book and not trying to just write natural dialogue. And so I feel like there's going to be some growing pains with this series, but maybe it gets a little bit better. But I can't say it's a firm recommendation, but I would say that this is something that might interest a very small portion of the comic book reading audience. For me, I'm going to go 2.8 Furies.
I'm actually at 2.8 as well.
All right. Moving on to Batman 64 by Josh Williamson and Gillum March. And the reason I'm actually even covering this, because I've kind of sworn off of Batman, is because this is starting the kind of 4-issue crossover with the Flash, and the kind of like what they did with the Button. This is kind of the new 4-issue thing, and it's gonna be what is it called? Cold Case, I believe, right?
It's I think they actually it was supposed to be called The Last Cold Case. And I think they changed the name to The Price. The Price,
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically this is starting off the 4-issue crossover between Batman and Flash again, and the way this issue started off, I thought, oh man, okay, this is where they're going with the very first page. This is bold. I'm ready for it. Then they completely shirk and sidestep that entire thing to kind of go with a much more contemporary and I'd say general direction you'd see most books go. I will say there are a couple things in here that I think, oh, there's some good interactions between Batman and Flash. Actually, I think Josh Williamson does a good job of highlighting Batman kind of fraying at the edges, but all in all, this is not the strong start I would want from a 4-part series.
Yeah, it definitely falls. There's a couple of moments that happen in this book that kind of make you kind of hope that it goes that way, because like when you first open up that and it's like this like whole scene, you really hope that they kind of continue going with it, and they don't. And then you start getting more to the...
that was a ballsy opening. I saw that first page and went, damn, all right, I'm in. You know?
Yeah, and then later on you get like a little bit further into it and you feel like, oh, okay, so this is actually probably going to be a little bit more of Flash and Batman, how they're dealing with the whole thing that happened at Sanctuary, the Heroes in Crisis, and how they feel about it, and them not being able to solve the case yet, and all this stuff like that. And then you find out it's actually something completely different.
It circles way back to like the first arc of Tom King's Batman. I will say there's a good flashback between Batman and Flash and Kid Flash and Robin. I did like that. And then I will say now Gilliam March is not as good as Tony Daniel on the art, but I think he's way better than I think Howard Porter, who's been doing Flash lately.
Yeah,
I can't stand it.
I do enjoy. I did enjoy March's work in this. I mean, I can't really put like how I'm going to feel about the series until I read the second part of this,
right?
Because as of right now, it feels like it's going. It feels like it could be going in 3 different directions, and I don't know exactly which direction. I feel like the direction it seems like it's going, like the obvious one, I feel like that's kind of a weird direction to be going, to also sit here and advertise this as a Heroes in Crisis tie-in.
Yeah, I don't like the way what it's circling back to, especially that last page. I was just like, yeah. All right.
At that point, I'm like, I'm like, you're lucky I'm getting Flash. Like otherwise, I probably wouldn't be reading this next issue.
Yeah, because it lost me because I wasn't that interested in those characters when they first appeared, so I don't really care as a whole. Hopefully, they find a way to make it interesting. But for me, it's going to be a 2.8, just like before. 2.8 Furies. Can't get it up to 3.
I get a 2.9, and also be on the outlook for the Sean Murphy variant. It's a really nice variant.
Actually, Batman is almost drawn a little bit like Sean Murphy's style.
Yeah, I know. That's why I dig it.
I did like that. All right, moving on to The Girl in the Bay, #1 from J.M. DeMatteis and Corin Howell. This is a Dark Horse book with Burger Books as well.
Burger Books.
Not Birders, but Burger Books. And so basically this is what a girl who from 1969, she is out on the town one day. She's kind of rebellious. She's grown up in the 1960s where, you know, love, drugs, sex, rock and roll, all that stuff is kind of reigning supreme. And she's out, she's tripping on acid one night and, you know, she gets killed. Let's just.
I mean, it happens in the first page.
It happens pretty. I
mean, that's
soon on.
Yeah, you can say that.
And then when she's resurrected, we're all kind of wondering how she comes about her resurrection. And the time that she wakes up, that makes for a very interesting look at this book. And I will say, at first reading this, I go, okay, you know, I love the '60s. I love that time period, studying it, reading about it, listening to the music from that time. I go, okay, this has kind of got me interested. It's kind of a niche that you don't really see. You don't see a lot of books taking place in the '60s and willing to kind of talk about the drug and sex revolution at the time. And this kind of hints on it. I go, okay, this is kind of filling a void for me. And then when her resurrection happens, I go, whoa, okay. Now I have no idea how this happened.
It's a mystery.
Yeah, I'm completely off base with whatever my predictions are because I have no idea what to make of it. But I will say it does have my interest, and it does, and I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued by this book. I like a good mystery, and especially when it's kind of a little supernaturally, and it kind of has that feel. The pencils were actually they were good at times. There's some panels I wasn't a huge fan of. But the story premise does have me pretty intrigued, and especially because while I was reading this, I thought this was going to be. Oh man! Now it was
what
a
lies
movie.
Beneath?
No, it was a movie that had. You know what? I just forget that I even mentioned this. It felt like it was a certain kind of movie that I've seen before, and it didn't go that way. So I'm intrigued. This is definitely going to be a book that I know that me and my girlfriend might enjoy. So
yeah, I'm going to be keeping my
for her.
Yeah, I'm going to be keeping my eye on it. For me, 3.1 Furies.
God, I hate when we're on the same page. 3.1 Furies on this end as well.
All right, moving on to Green Lantern by Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp. I will say, first off, the thing I noticed is Liam Sharp's pencils seem to be, you know, no pun intended, a little sharper in this book. And I don't know if it's the colorist who does it or maybe even the inker.
I think it's the colorist. The colorist does a great job on this as well.
Yeah, it pops a lot more, especially the backgrounds. But basically, I got to say, trying to describe this book is really hard because you still don't really have a sense of what's going on. There's this kind of thing where the Dark Stars have been, or the Black stars have been kind of in the background of things. In this book, it's not really told from the perspective of Hal Jordan. It's told from somebody telling the story of Hal Jordan and how he basically is no longer, he's persona non grata with the Guardians once again. Not something that Green Lantern readers have never seen before. But the way this book ends, I go, okay, this has me interested. I wasn't really fooled by what they were doing, the way they were interspersing this one conversation with what's going on with Hal Jordan. I kind of knew what was going on, but the way it ends, I go, yeah, I can get into this. I'm still on it, but I will say, admittedly, I'm on this book because I am a Green Lantern fan, not because I think so far this has been a great run. Yeah,
it has this really great. Grant Morrison does a really great job of making it feel like the old 1970s kind of book. The one thing that kind of bugs me about this series is that in the beginning of each book, you kind of get this weird kind of beginning that kind of doesn't make sense, and it's a little out there. And then by halfway through the book, then you get to this really cool part that really grabs you. And in the end, it makes you go, okay, well now I got to read the next issue. So, as not a Green Lantern, that big of a Green Lantern fan, I've been wanting to drop this book, but every single time there's something at the end, then I get oh my god, now I gotta read the next one. I give this book 2.75 Furies.
Okay, I'm going, because as a Green Lantern fan, I'm trying to be as objective as possible, but I'm gonna go 3.0 Furies. Nothing great, nothing spectacular. I will say the last issue was much more entertaining.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on real quick to Justice League number 17 by Scott Snyder and Jim Chung. And I've been continuing reading the Justice League, and Jim Chung on the art means, yeah, I'm definitely going to at least read it. So basically this book is Martian Manhunter and Lex Luthor teaming up and getting a little bit more backstory to Martian Manhunter. Now, if you guys haven't really noticed, since the New 52 came around, Martian Manhunter has not really been a very big presence in the DC universe, and this feels like Snyder's chance to go, okay, since it's been a while since Martian Manhunter's been around here, I can kind of play with this character, do what I want with his mythology, and I will say that anybody who is a fan of the Martian Manhunter character is really not going to like this book. He's really not going to like the way that Martian Manhunter's legacy is retconned, especially with the fact that Steve Orlando and Riley Rossmo are doing a Martian Manhunter solo series right now. This completely undercuts that completely, and I don't like it. I didn't like it. The best part about this book was Jim Chung's pencils. The dude can do no wrong, in my opinion. There are some interesting ideas. Again, they're trying to play at this kind of mystery, and it doesn't work at all. I'm going 1.6 Furies for Justice League 17.
Okay, so we also read Green Arrow 49. It's written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig, and Javier Fernandez is on the pencils. Mm-hmm. Jake, what did you think about this book?
I like this book. It's not the best Green Lantern installation so far, but what it
Green
is...
Arrow.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, it's not the best installation so far by any means, but I will say if you're a Heroes in Crisis fan, or you wanting that to expand and kind of ripple outward and have consequences in the greater DC universe, this book definitely has it. There's a lot of going on with Roy Harper here. There's some great stuff with Vertigo and Oliver in this book that I really enjoyed, but overall, I didn't think that the storytelling wasn't as impactful as they wanted it to be, because they spent a lot of time around one idea but trying to fill up 22 pages.
Yeah, that was one problem I had with this, but to me, they nailed me with that. The effect that they're trying to get,
the impact itself was done very well, but it just took a while to get there, and then there was a little bit too much afterward.
See, I felt it throughout the book on these little flashbacks that he had with Roy.
I'm talking more about the impact with Vertigo.
Oh, the Vertigo thing, I think it was just literally supposed to be a side thing. I don't think it was really supposed to be a big thing. I think it was supposed to be more just to release what Ollie was feeling. I feel like it's just the character is being used.
I'm talking more about the impact when Vertigo finds out that Roy is dead.
Oh,
that's when I'm going, wow, that really hit me, but it just took a little too long to get there, and then afterward, there was a little too much afterward.
Yeah, I'm digging this though. I really enjoyed this issue. It's not my favorite installment, like what you said with this whole Green Arrow run. But with that being said, that's very small amount, because I really enjoyed the whole run as a whole as right now, and this is still a great installment for the rest of that run.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, this is by no means a bad book. It's just it's not reaching the heights that a lot of the other Green Arrow issues have really reached, or arcs as a whole. I really did enjoy this book, and I'm going to give it 3.2 Furies.
I'm at 3.25 Furies.
All right. Moving on to Female Furies, number 1 of 6. It is, I should have had this Cecil Castellucci is the writer, and the artist is Adriana Mello. So it sounds like it's mainly a female duo. I looked it up yesterday, actually. Cecil Castellucci is a woman.
Yeah, I think Cecil. Never mind. Doesn't matter.
But basically, again, 6-issue series. It's this is a huge surprise for me. I did not expect to like this book much, and I'm actually surprised to be saying I am picking up this book. I'm going to be getting the 6-issue series based on issue 1. It's Granny Goodness. She's grooming the female Furies on Apokolips to be, Apokolips's like best warriors and stuff. And what it really is, though, it's a veiled look at the way women are treated in kind of a men's world. What I love about this book is it doesn't tell, it shows. It doesn't go out of its way to explain the way women are treated, how they feel inferior or anything like that. So it doesn't feel like you're being beaten over the head with it. It just kind of shows you the way that men treat women and how they look at women. And as a man myself, I look at this and go, yeah, this feels very appropriate for today. This does feel like something I've seen in the locker room, or I've seen, just out with friends or people at a bar or something. This doesn't feel that far of a departure from reality. So I have to give this book credit, because it doesn't feel like I'm being made to feel guilty about being a man. It's just I'm reading this book and go, yeah, being a woman could be a hard thing, and I have no idea. I have no way to firsthand experience with being one.
Yeah, it does that, and it doesn't make you feel guilty as a man. Like, it doesn't make you go, like, instantly want to go, around and apologize for your actions that you might have not done.
There was actually a moment I felt bad for Granny Goodness. Never in my life would have thought that.
Right?
Happened. Yeah.
Right? I know exactly what part you're talking about. No, this part, and the great thing about this book is a lot of people, are, huge on this whole, they're beating it on our heads, they're forcing it in the books and everything. It doesn't feel that way. This one, normally, because I know what they're talking about, sometimes it feels very preachy, and, they're trying to teach you something. This doesn't feel preachy. This feels like somebody just wanting to tell an interesting story.
Right, and I feel like
a story that's never been really tapped on or, really been told a whole lot.
Maybe, well, not in this fashion. I feel like we understand this story. That's the underlying themes. We understand it, and we've heard it a lot.
Yeah, I'm talking about with these characters.
Well, it's also, I don't feel like I've ever read a book that it's been tackled in this way, and I know it feels like we're highlighting the fact that there's a message behind this book, but honestly, it's something that if you are not looking for it, if you are not trying to point it out, you're not going to realize it a whole lot. You're not going to feel like you're, like somebody's on their soapbox talking down to you. It's actually a really well done story. The art is fantastic, and the writing is great.
Yeah, the art, and we also give credit to the colorist. The colorist on this was great too. But yeah, this whole book, it was great. I am going to be picking it up mostly because I really enjoyed it, and I do find myself getting the rest of this run.
Yeah, I love the pencils in the flashback scenes.
Yeah, the flashback scenes are great. It reminds me of Joel Jones.
Well, I was gonna say it actually reminds me of a kind of
old
updated
school
version of Jack Kirby New God stuff. Yeah, it's a great look.
You got some really heart moments. You got some good action. You got some good funny moments in it too.
And these are some women that are just not going to take shit from anybody, but they also understand that there's a pecking order. There's an authority. They're authority figures, and they are also soldiers, so they have to know their place. And they're struggling with balancing the two. And I really like that.
One thing I want to throw in there real quick is the fact that when I seen the cover and all this stuff, I was like, this book is definitely going to be riding on the coattails of the success of Mr. Miracle, and have Big Barda be the main focal point in this whole story. And she's not. It's actually this whole group, and if anything, it's actually Granny Goodness as the main focal point of the story. But everybody gets a good amount of kind of screen time, air quotes, around that.
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to give Female Furies 3.95 Furies. I really like this book, and one of the best things about it is I didn't see it coming. I didn't expect to like this book, so I got to give it up.
I was holding my number underneath my hand together, so I'm going no, I'm not going to change it because I'm matching his. Mine's actually 4.
All right.
Mine's 4. Female Furies.
All right, we are not far off. And the last one we're going to be talking about is Marv Wolfman and Claudio Castellini's Man and Superman. It is a 100-page spectacular from DC highlighting Superman, and it's a $9.99 book. I know, because this is a big week, that seems like a big deterrent, but guys, do not sleep on this book. In my opinion, after having read this, I don't think we ordered enough, and already looking, it cannot be reordered as of now. So what I'm going to say about this book, guys, it is a great retelling of Superman's origin, but it's a familiar way, but it's also not a familiar way. It highlights a lot of him before he's Superman. Think kind of Daredevil wearing his black suit before he gets the Daredevil
I'm thinking
costume.
More like Batman Year One.
Or Batman Year One. But even in Batman Year One, he had his costume. For most of this, he doesn't have his costume in this book. So that's what I'm saying. Think kind of Daredevil, Man Without Fear, the 5-issue thing where he had the black mask on him. But what this book does is it showcases and highlights what makes Superman such a great hero. Not because he's a great hero with all these powers, but he's just such a good person. Now, and it's easy to sound like that's a boring thing, but Marv Wolfman brings kind of his old school stylistics to this book for a modern day audience, and I think it works so incredibly well. He's talking about the Daily Planet. There's the introduction of Lex Luthor, the meeting for the first time of Lois and Clark. There is so much goodness in this book, and what's great too is I probably had to, it took me about 30 minutes to read this comic book.
It's a big book, 100 page.
And I really liked it. Josh, what do you think?
I loved it. I thought it was really great. I didn't think I was going to like it that much. But also, you said what makes Superman such a great character. But actually, it's not even Superman. It's Clark Kent. Like, that's the best thing about this is, like, you kind of realize that Clark Kent is what's the really cool part about this character.
The last page touched my heart. I don't know if you really paid attention to some of the art on there, but the newspaper the man's holding at the end. I don't know. If
I pay attention.
That touched me.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'm not
spoiling.
spoiling. I'm just saying if you pay attention to that, I really loved it.
I know that it's a big week for a lot of people, and
big week for me.
And there's some books out there that are going to be a little bit more priced up there because they're issue ones or there's some kind of special edition. But I will say, if you have a spare few bucks or if you do have a light pool, definitely pick this book up. I know it's $10, but I mean it's worth it. It's worth the $10 because, to be honest, with how much you're getting and what kind of story you're getting, it feels like it should have been more of a graphic novel. And I'm surprised that DC did not put this in a hardback and make it a graphic novel.
Yeah, it's only in that premium format, and I think that was a mistake.
Prestige format.
Yeah, and I think that was a mistake. I think you could have easily put this on some.
Yeah, but it's cheaper if they do it this way.
True story. But guys, do not sleep on this book. This is my favorite book from DC this week, and that's saying something because I really liked Female Furies. Honestly, the only one I wouldn't recommend picking up, in my opinion, is just Justice League, and that's because
Young Justice too.
Yeah, Young Justice was more forgettable. Justice League, I would go just don't pick it up, even with Jim Chung on the pencils. With this one, this is the one I would say prioritize. If this is not on your pull list, make sure you get it. DC has really been making a concerted effort to highlight Superman and bring him back. I don't know if it's because they're not really happy with what's going on with Bendis, but there's been a lot of Superman stories lately, and it's just like, this is Golden Age Superman, and this is classic Superman.
Yeah, I like, that's the one thing with the past few issues that I've read with Superman being in it, even if it's a short story or what, is it definitely highlights these aspects that, because I've never really was a Superman fan, but now I'm starting going like, man, I should have been a Superman fan. Now I understand why these people are fans of Superman. Yeah. It's not so much as Superman as much as just Clark Kent.
Right. Well, what would you grade this book?
This one I give a 4.5.
Oh,
I give it
wow.
4.5 because of the quality of a story you're getting. The art is great. The color's great in it. You're getting a complete, like, I mean, you feel like you've fulfilled something.
Yeah.
The feeling that you get when you finish a graphic novel, that's what you get from this. It's not just a one-issue thing. I mean, you're getting a lot.
You're getting about 4 issues for the price of $9.
Oh, yeah, and it's 100 pages, and I've read 100 pages straight, beginning to end, and I did not feel like I spent too much time on it, and I felt like I said, fulfilled a goal, and I felt good the whole time I read it. There was never a dull moment.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I have to give it 4.5 because that's a lot. I mean, and in that also, after reading this, like what we said, I feel like DC easily could have turned this into a hardback graphic novel and slapped $15-20 on this. Instead, they put it down in a prestige format, only $10. That's reasonable.
Yeah, and again, it's Marv Wolfman, so I mean, you got to.
Oh yeah, it's Marv classic Wolfman, writer. So, come on.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go a little lower. I'm gonna go 4.2, but hell, that is still a really high grade.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a huge Superman fan, but the more I read stuff like this, the more and more you can't help but go, damn it, I really like Superman.
It makes you want to go back and read some more Superman stuff.
But that is all we've got for you guys for this week. Please hit that like button if you liked it. Thumbs down if you don't, because I didn't like the Justice League issue. Comment below. Let us know your thoughts. There's so much coming out this week, so let us know what you guys are reading and what you really liked and what you're planning on picking up, what now you're not planning on picking up. And also let us know if you guys appreciate us going over some of these indie titles, if it's helped you navigate whether or not you're going to pick them up. And of course, guys, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. Also, share this with your comic book reading friends. And Josh, you have anything to add?
Hope starts with the H.
All right. Well, also make sure to check out the Marvel one on the channel as well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week.